the chart on boom 1000. Now you can do this on any chart. You can do it on boom 1000, crash 1000. You can do it on boom 500, crash 500. You can do it on boom 300 and also crash 300. It works on every asset that you decide to try it on. Now we're going to begin from the higher time frame, and from the higher time frame we are going to identify our support and resistance areas. So now, in order for us to identify support and resistance areas, in most cases you can take your charts to the to the line chart, and then here, after you take your charts to the line chart, then you are going to have at least be able to see the turning points of the market. So we have right here, we have this one right here. Then we also have, at least where we have multiple touches, we also have this one right here, and then we also have this one right here. Okay, let's see, let's continue to put our support and resistance. Then we also have, at least we want to see where we had some multiple touches. Then we also had that one right there. Then we say we have also something like that right there. But then all these touches, although our price has already acted and price has already moved, just trying to show you how you can look for these support and resistance. So normally having these lines is, I think, is enough on the higher time frame. And then the other area where you can have is somewhere right here. Okay, so these are the areas where you may consider to have, you know, those your support and your resistance lines. Okay, now after we map our support and resistance lines on 1 hour, then we can go back to the candlestick chart. And then after we come back to the candlestick chart, you can see how powerful these lines are, how powerful they are. Okay, so like I said, the support and resistance line, it shouldn't be it doesn't have to be just a single line. You can consider it to be a zone. All right, maybe considered as a zone rather than just a single line. So and then I said that there will be times where you, in a downtrend, you see we have a lower low, lower high, lower low. So meaning that this support is weak. Why? Because price has just broken through it. Again, we have a lower high, then we have a lower low. Look at this support here. It was weak, then it has been broken through it, but then price comes back to retest it, and then from there price pushes all the way and breaking all these areas. Again, what do we see? Price come back to retest some of these areas. And like I said, for us to verify or to validate that it's a support or it's a strong zone, we need at least 2 touches. So this is the first, then the second touch, then you can consider taking a trade right here. All right, so even when you're looking at the resistance, the support, you need to have 1 touch. Okay, so this is where the support was established. Price comes back to retest it. All right, to validate the support, then right here, this is where you should have taken your entry. Now, again, look at here, we have a high, then we have a low, then we break that area, then price comes back to retest this area. And then from there, what happens? The market pushes to the upside. Again, you can see we break this area, we come retest it, then we push to the upside and all those things. So what you are going to observe is that just looking at what is going on, you are able to have your areas of interest mapped out on the higher time frame. Now, after we have our area of interest mapped out on the higher time frame, let's see if we can see something on lower time frame like the H4 time frame. So let's see what the market is going to show us. So there we are. Okay, so I'm not going to go back in time to look for, what price has done. That you can do that on your own. But for me, I just want to show you at least where price is. All right, maybe the recent price action. Let's see how we may approach the market. Okay, so right here, you can see from here all the way to that high, that's where our major support levels are from higher time frame. However, we can also see that inside we are going to have multiple levels of interest that we can consider. So what are we going to do? We just have to look at the market structure. So we have the high, higher low, higher high. All right. Then after we have this high, higher low, higher high kind of a situation right here, you can also almost see that price created a level. All right. Price created a level. And of course, we can even extend this level just to include multiple other touches. All right. So here we are. Okay. So for me, all right, what I'm going to do is once the market breaks, then retest the area. All right. Then I'll look for multiple touches, because if truly this is support, remember this was resistance which has just become support. So this is resistance. You can say resistance. Okay, resistance. All right, resistance. Then here it turns into support. All right, support. Now, what is quite important is you need to look at your support and validate it. All right, look at your support and then validate it. So we have first touch here, all right, to confirm that this is a support, price pushes. Then there is a validation right here. So as price comes to validate the support, we can either take our entry right here based off the candlestick pattern. So you can see this is a candlestick pattern. We are having some rejection around this area, so we might as well take an entry on this candlestick that opens. Then we're going to put our stop loss. We're going to put our stop loss down here, and then our take profit can just be 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, depending with what your risk to reward is. Okay, so let's say that was another interesting area of interest interesting trade that we might have taken right there. Then price also creates another support area right here. Now, if you look at this support area, all right, you can also draw just a zone around this area. Okay, so what we are trying to create, more like market is trying to create, is something like a range. All right, the market is trying to create a range. Okay, I'm back. So what the market is trying to create is some kind of a range. All right, so what do we see? Price comes here. Now we need to validate a resistance. Remember, from what we discussed in our previous lesson, we said this is going to be our resistance. So this is the beginning of our resistance. Then after we have this resistance, we need to validate it. So this is where validation was done. All right, so validation. So after we have a validation, what should follow? Then we need to take an entry. So what are we going to wait for here? Of course, we just have to wait for an entry, at least any candlestick pattern that we can see. So of course, here we don't have any clear candlestick pattern until maybe we have this one right here. Okay, so let's say you take your entry right here, and your stop loss, you just put it above that high. Okay, and where will be your take profit? Of course, your take profit will be somewhere. You can even put your take profit here. But though this is not a good trade, because we have not yet looked at confirmations yet. But of course, you can just do that kind of a trade, or you can wait further to take this type where the market now gives you a bullish engulfing right here. But again, it's not also a good trade, although it's going to, anyway, it is a good trade because it gives us at least a 1 to 2. Okay, so this is another kind of a trade that you can take. Now, remember, we are looking at this on the higher time frame. So of course, we might want to go even much lower, but then we're just looking at how we can take advantage of the market using support and resistance according to what we have studied. All right, so here price again comes. Remember, we had support, then here we had validation of support. All right, so support, validation, and then entry. All right, support, validation, entry, support, validation, entry. So we have a validation right here. So you can say validation. Okay, validation. So support, validation, then right here, what are we going to do? That's our entry. More especially that we have a pin bar right here. We can put our stop loss down, and our target profit, of course, shall be the next the next high. All right, so this is going to be a very good trade if you are patient to wait for it to play out and take you, give you those take profits. Okay, so that's what we had right here. Now let's look at this one. This was a resistance. All right, and again you can see how price struggled until we broke through out of it. Now, like I said, there are times where we may be expecting that the market is going to give us a nice break and retest, but that may not happen. All right, we may not get a very nice break and retest, but again we can begin to see that price pushed to the upside, tried to violate this area, fails, pushes again, tries to violate this area, fails, until we push to the upside, and finally price comes back for another opportunity for a trade. So if you're patient enough, you would wait through this confusion only to come and take this nice trade right here. Look at this one right here. Upon the market closing as a pin bar, you can even put your stop loss down here and you can take your take profit, at least to get a 1 to 3 right somewhere right there. Okay, so that is gonna be some kind of a nice trade for you. Okay, so let's continue. So here now price seems to be hitting on our higher time frame support, but again we can still follow our lower time frame areas of interest. So here we have this as our resistance. Remember, price here resisted this area how many times? We have first time, validation, and of course we might have taken a trade right here which failed to work. Remember those examples that I was trying to give you where sometimes the trade will not work. Okay, so here we are, price comes to this area. All right, we retest this one, the market comes for a validation, pushes, then we might also based on the third touch right here. So there was resistance, support, validation of support, entry right here. Okay, which we might of course try to take it based off the closure of that candle. Then we put our stop loss just below it, and we may even target a 1 to 2, 1 to 3, just like that. Okay, and where are we going to be targeting? Of course, you can see that again the market was creating some kind of resistance. So much of what you're going to see in the market is that price will be creating support, will be creating resistance. What do you need? You need validation. So once the market pushes to the downside, that's where resistance is. All right, that's where resistance is. Remember what we looked at. Let me just draw something to just remind you, refresh you a bit. So we had a push. So I said the moment we have a U-turn on the market, mark that one as resistance. Of course, it is resistance. Otherwise, price wouldn't have reversed or wouldn't have turned around. So it is resistance. So the next time the market goes back to it, it's a validation of the resistance area. So the moment price goes back to that area, it now begins to validate the resistance area. All right, so this is now validation, meaning that if price then moves away from that area, we have validated the resistance area. Now the third time price comes back to it, like it hits again the same area, then here you can now consider to take your entry based of candlestick confirmation, candlestick patterns. You can take your sell and just target maybe a 1 to 3, or you may target any area of interest that you may deem to be fit. Okay, so same applies here. So price pushed, the moment we are having a pullback, that means it's a resistance. Same applies to here. All right, so even here we also have the same scenario, same situation. All right, same situation. Okay, I believe you're following what I'm doing. So same situation. So same applies to this one. So we have first resistance created, validation of resistance, entry right there. Okay, entry right there. Now the moment price breaks it, okay, so let's say here we took our trade, then price comes back to our support. So this was a mini range that was created. It was a mini range that was created. Then what happens? The market comes again into this area, right? Gives us a bullish engulfing pattern, right? But then the candlestick is quite too big. Of course, we may take it, but it's just the range, the stop loss will be very, very, very far away. you know, and unless if you're targeting some big areas, because yeah, of course it might work, because look at that, it went on to hit your take profit just like that. Okay, so but of course on the lower time frame we might want to take our buys or looking for those entries, more especially after price pulls back, then breaks, right? So if we had a nice pullback on this one, then on the lower time frame we might try to take it, because of course it is a resistance. Look at this, price pushed to the downside, then again validation, then we broke it. So after we broke it, price then came, retested it, then the moment this candlestick closes, we can now think of entering the market. So right here, we can take our entry and put our stop loss below here. And of course, we'll target somewhere a 1 to 3. So let's say we're targeting a 1 to 3 somewhere right here. Okay, so somewhere right there, we target a 1 to 3. Okay, so it's gonna be very nice trade. And what happens? Price comes back to retesting this area again. Now, a retest cannot just be exactly like a tap on the zone or a tap on an area. As long as price fails to continue moving to the downside, that's a retest. So in other ways, let me just again do a refresher, right? Let me just do a refresher. In other ways, again, what that means is that you may have a high, a higher low, a higher high. Then the market, you have a zone like this one right here. Okay, and then from there, price may even come and do this. But for as long as price fails to push to the downside, that's a retest. So this is still a retest of this zone, right? So a retest may not be clear, but it is going to still be considered as a retest. So right here, what do we have? We have a pin bar as a confirmation that the market wants to really go up. So based on that confirmation, we may even take a trade based off this candlestick pattern, put our stop loss down here, and look at where we may even be targeting. A 1 to 3 might just be here. Okay, and that would be a very good trade. Okay, so now we continue to observe what the market is doing. All right, so here we had a lot of price action, and you can see until the market pushed all the way to the upside. So all these are examples of how you can take your trades and how you can trade the market effectively. Now, the other type of I think do we have anything that I can show you as an example on this market? Nope. Okay, on this market, I think this is enough. All right.